By 8:05 Monday morning, our market page has already been updated. Fresh numbers, current listings, today's date on the page, and neither of us touch even a keyword. And we are still doing or making our tea.
This is not a trick, and this is basically, it's our crone, which we talked about before, not a witch, it's a schedule that fires on scripts that are already decided within code. So by the time I actually sit down and the kids are off to school, the website's already done most of the work that it needs to do. That's the whole build. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in order, especially when connecting our MLS to our website, because that I think is important and a lot of people like to know about that stuff. So how it runs, why it runs, what it doesn't do for us, and the part that really how you can set this all up for yourself. And it really will only take you maybe 5 minutes.
Exactly. And who is this video for? Basically, if you are 2 to 5 years in real estate business or closing 6 to 8 deals a year, and you can feel your ceiling is your calendar, this is exactly for you. And some if you are a relationship agent whose business comes from the people actually who already know you, and you watch newer agent basically publish online while the one that they are actually knowing the market in your area.
And you don't have to be technical. I did not study code in school. You need a website that shows more than, it's not a brochure, and it's the most current thing of the market, so you own the data that you are providing for yourself. There's really 4 things you have to do in order to do this, and that is the whole machine, 4 moves. Move number 1 is you have to have a crone, the schedule. The crone is just a line saved on your computer that says run at this time of day, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever you want it to be. And it is stacked by hand most days because you're going to do that. But this is the ignition switch. It's fired, and that's really all it needs to do. And you do not need to be there for that to run.
Exactly. The move number 2, basically it reads your MLS export. Basically a plain spreadsheet file, the same export that you already pulled from your MLS. The script finds the newest one on your machine, checks it actually that contains real sold records, for example, and refuses the file if it doesn't exist.
So basically, this is the human part. So before 8 a.m., I have gone into my MLS and downloaded the CSV file for my area, so I can now have market data analysis. Now, move number 3 is going to update your market pages, right? Not a rebuild, not a surgical swap. Everything there is like there is a block of numbers that's going to get replaced with a date stamp to today, and everything else on the page is staying the same. So it's like price per square foot, median days on market. All of those things are in that block, and it's going to get updated because you gave that new data to it. Want to tell me 4?
And finally, move number 4, it builds basically the listing cards, your current active listing render as real estate card on your own page, on your own domain, crawlable with your name around them. And instead of a button that basically bounces your visitor to a portal, then markets to them, not just that.
So basically it's all in one log, and that is the entire audit trail. You did have to get that CSV file, so there is some human work involved. Now let's talk about cloud code and how you really kind of write this whole thing, because I'm not techie. I'm a vibe coder, I can say that now, but it's really why we're showing you how to do this thing. You don't need to write scripts, you don't have to write code, you just have to be able to explain in plain English and give the newest export for data.
Exactly. Basically, you need to, for example, pull median list price, days on the market, active counts on the market, the new construction, and share for each of the town that you have in your area or in your county, and put them in this block and on these pages, and stamps today's date on them.
So Cloud is writing it, is running the preview, and it's really looking at all the change before we actually ever set up that initial publish. And then we're setting up, the Cloud Code is setting up that schedule. So when we decide what neighborhoods to include, you say that in one sentence and it's going to do the same job. So basically if you want to expand once you've started this one neighborhood, you want to go to a next neighborhood, the next town over, but really that's the whole shape of it. Outcome, preview, approve, let the machine build, let the system work, let your computer actually do its job of computing for you, which was something we were told it was supposed to do 30 years ago, but now it actually does. Now let's talk about the fun part that actually moves.
Exactly. The part that actually moved the search that we wanted to talk about. Now, on the search side, this is the piece that was slowing down a little bit.
Yeah. The block I was talking about.
Every time that the blocks re-renders, it also writes the structured data in the same pass, a labeled, a machine-readable version of the same page that attached underneath each of it. What is this exactly?
So basically in the box, you're going to have your normal things you would give with marketing reports: median active listing, median days on market, active listing count, new construction, median sold in the last 6 months. Each of those has a name in the box, and it's something that's going to compare, and it's going to change every single time you upload that CSV file. And that really, having those names really does important, because those numbers are going to change.
Exactly. The numbers a search engine reads and the numbers that our human reads can never drift apart, which is super important, because both of them are generated from the same file in the same second exactly.
So hand maintained, when you had to do this by hand, somebody was always doing the updated graphs. They had to do all all the schema, all the work, all the markups, all the reverses, and the page could contradict itself, and you're not seeing it because you're so focused on this one part. So when we get to do it with code, everything is being updated seamlessly together. And this is why it pays off when we're talking about how do you get into AI, and how do you get recommended by AI. Because people do not search anymore. They ask. They ask ChatGPT, they ask Gemini, they ask Perplexity, they ask Grok, they ask whatever AI that they like, or Google itself. They're going to type in, what is the market doing in my area? What are the houses in my area? And these pages that you've created get pulled for the answer, labeled, dated, current. The value is going to be not get skipped because the value is there.
Exactly. Basically, a page that says, for example, the median in this area with the exact number, the days on the market with all the exact data, and dated exactly today, because that's how you did it with the cloud.
And that page is quotable by AI. And this means that date stamp is not cosmetic. It's showing up and making sure that you are showing up with the table stakes. You're right and you're dated, and you're going to be the answer today. So why does this matter? How long do you do it? Why the daily? And why every neighborhood? So basically, once you actually have your website, you're not going to start. I started with weekly and we moved to daily, because Google crawls the pages constantly, and you want to make sure that you're constantly updating your website. So a website that gets changed every day is going to be checked more often than a page that gets checked twice a year or once a year. And you're not tricking anybody. You're really the content does need to change because you're updating it, because the market changes all the time. And this is honest and just fresh, keeping all the data fresh. And it's the only version that holds over time.
And why basically bother pushing every neighbor page? Because that's neighborhood page. Because it's where the search actually lives. And basically, almost nobody types a broad city query and then hires somebody, which we just talked about a few seconds ago.
They're looking at the neighborhood, what is circled in the past 3 months, and the searches are lower competition and higher intent, because there's literally as many neighborhoods and towns in your area as count. So your city page is competing on national websites. Your neighborhood pages are typically not competing with anybody, and it's a page where either a serious buyer or a serious seller is going to land on because they typed in their subdivision, and really, we push this for every run.
Exactly.
Now, when we talk about my fails?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about my fails for a little bit, because I am not perfect. I make mistakes, and that is something we should always talk about, because builds fail all the time, and samples don't always work. So I'm making it sound so easy, because it is easy, but you have to expect we had to crawl. We fell a lot before we learned to walk, right, as babies. So if the export takes fewer seconds, the wrong file, already there can be a mistake right there. All values are going to be changing. If the median is staying the same thing all the time, it means that something is not updating, something is not calculating. A skipped run is not a broken run. If you had to go to the hospital, you had to go see this house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you had to leave your house at 6 o'clock in the morning, so you weren't there to pull your CSV, your input wasn't there, so now it's going to have old numbers for your system, so you do have to remember that you do have to pick a time to where you can be there. And automation does not...
And that's why cron is important, no?
Right, but sometimes if I don't give it a CSV and I had to leave my house at 6 o'clock in the morning, then I never pull the CSV, so it can't do its job. And automation is great because it saves you time, but being fast and wrong is even more dangerous than because you're fast, right? So when we're fast and wrong, we have made a lot of mistakes on the way, and people seen your mistakes because you were fast and you were wrong. So making sure when a block isn't running, you haven't double checked it. Make sure that you find time to check yourself, because if you do not check, it can run wild.
Exactly. Now we wanted to focus on two things that we got wrong. And these two mistakes that basically we made, because they might save you weeks. The first one is, as my wife said, updating the data file that is not updating the page. And we had the data file that was perfectly fresh every single day. And meanwhile, the numbers on the same our page had been drifting for weeks. And why this happened?
The file itself is great. Outside was stale. So basically, I missed some sort of verification step in the browser that I had to catch with my eyes, not necessarily in the file itself. So something wasn't moving the outside things. We had to fix it and say, hey, why are you not changing these numbers? What is broken? So you have to make sure it's actually working. And the second one is a window of time. Fast moving numbers, days on market, median, supply. You have to have that pull that I was talking about. And you have to have that pull, and you have to do it often. And basically, if you're just pulling a neighborhood that only has 4 sales in a year, that's not answered. That's something that's going to be a little harder to say than a whole town that has hundreds of listings. So I would say when you are creating something that's very small, you will not have as much data to create. And I've done that too.
Exactly. Now, basically, now we wanted to talk about what it exactly built. No?
Now, once you actually have enough data, and you've been doing this for a while, these active data can really help you create those subdivisions that I was talking about. So when they only have 4 a year, you can still be their person that they call to, because that moment that once you have the data and enough of it, the market now is going to be, every time it's updating, it's pinging that specific thing and it's updating that specific page. And it's all happening seamlessly and automatically, and you're not doing anything yourself. So when you're not saying this neighborhood needs to do this, and this one is maybe I shouldn't do this one, because you shouldn't be guessing when it comes to numbers. Exactly. Basically, you should be pinged when numbers match what you should be doing. So basically, that's what we're talking about. You're not saying, oh, I'm only going to do this neighborhood because I like this neighborhood. No. We're doing as many as you can now, because you can do that, and it's all based on numbers and sales at the end of the day. So basically, this is something that we're talking about, because it's really making sure the gap is there so you can have those numbers to really explain it to people.
Now, basically the 5 minutes before our call, here's the part that surprises, and honestly is the reason that we would run this even if it did nothing for all of our sales. And the page basically writes your talking points. Why does that?
Say my husband's on the phone and somebody's saying, I really only want to live in this subdivision. No problem. Here's our link to this subdivision page, and you can see that subdivision is going to cost you $500,000 for a median list price. These are the ones that recently sold in this specific subdivision. So when you're on that phone call, it is now like, hey, I have that information for you. Here's my website, and I can share it with you. And if they're saying we want new construction, they want to know how much of the new construction is, again, that's on the website right there already. So I can just send a link and say, hey, let me pull up my information on my website about that specific subdivision. And you are really competing with the builder about that information that you can give to them. In fact, you might actually give more information than the builder might give. Because you can put on that website all of this information that they're not even thinking about putting. Like, how long does it take to get to the commute to the specific unit, this job? They might not have done all that computation.
And what kind of amenity you have, what school you might have for
the schools are just a list, but the median days on market is just your base price, and you knew that before the buyer even asked. So when they're saying I only want to live in the subdivision, here is my page, let me pull it up, and I'll share it with you so you can see what's going on in this area. So you can really talk to people, buyer or sellers, about what is happening, and you can show that you are the person who knows everything about that area.
Exactly.
And why you're the best fit.
Most of the agents on the same call are working from basically a memory, and we know that when you work with a memory, you're gonna make a mistake. A number, you tell somebody a number that doesn't even make sense. It could be 3 to 6 months ago, and basically this way, when you are building every day those neighborhood and you have enough data, you basically have the data on your fingertip and you can share with your client in no time, or people that they are moving to your area and they see you as an expert, somebody that knows everything and can help them.
And if you can share that data that you created yourself, they're going to see you as the expert who can help them the best. And that's going to help you with listings and with buyers. So this really means if you are this agent who is struggling, or if you are someone who's really about relationships, make sure you don't lose those people because you don't have the information or the market knowledge. This way you have a system where the market knowledge is created for you, and you're doing it all the time, and you are the in the know person.
Exactly. We are Alan Victoria Pinder, Icon Agent with eXp Realty, and we are here to level up your business. And please go to the description below, book a calendar with us, and we wanted to see how me and my wife we can help you automate your real estate business. And also don't forget to watch all of our playlists here. Don't forget to subscribe in our channel and go to theprosperityagent.com. We are here for you, and see you next